Good morning. It's Amy at St. Thomas Epiphany Episcopal Parish. On Sunday, we heard a portion of John's Gospel about Jesus talking about the shepherding of God. You might remember a portion of John's Gospel where Jesus says, "Very truly I tell you, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in by another way, is a thief and a bandit. Very truly I tell you, I am the gate. I am the gate for the sheep," Jesus says. You may have noticed on the Pot Spring campus and also on the Providence Road campus and in many churches all over the world, these gates around the altar area, these rails. Centuries and centuries ago, they were in churches for a practical purpose, and because they've always been in churches, even though now in the 20th century, when both campus buildings were built, there's a gate around the altar. And in some places, there's an actual gate right here of the steps where even that's the job of the acolyte, to shut the gate and open the gate as the people come up for communion. I wonder what this image of gate is for you that Jesus talks about when he refers to himself as the gate. Is the gate a symbol of exclusion or inclusion? Does the gate erect a barrier between people and God? Or does the gate enclose the sheepfold and keep the sheep safe, fed, watered, under the care of the Good Shepherd? Jesus says, "I am the gate. Whoever enters by me will be saved and will come in and go out and find pasture." And we are all invited to enter through the gate. And we all come in and come out through the gate, through Jesus. I've been thinking a lot about the altar rail and the fact that we can't share Eucharist in this time of pandemic. And for all of us, that's a painful reality. For some of us, that is a sign of exclusion, a sign of a gate, a barrier being put up between our spiritual practices and the institutional church's practice of sharing Eucharist. For some of us, not sharing the Eucharist may in fact be a sign of our attempts as humans to be good shepherds, to care for people, to care for the most vulnerable among us. In this time of pandemic, of the disease of COVID-19, where we don't know who is the most vulnerable, where we don't know why some people die with this disease and others don't, why some people have mild symptoms and others don't, when we don't know how this is transmitted. For some of us, the non-sharing of Eucharist is an attempt for us to be like the Good Shepherd. For others of us, the non-sharing of Eucharist feels exclusionary and sad. This image of God as the Good Shepherd, of Jesus as the Good Shepherd, Jesus as the gate, comes from not just the New Testament and the Gospels, but it comes from the prophet Ezekiel, in Ezekiel chapter 34, where Ezekiel warns against false shepherds who lead the people astray. Ezekiel warns against false shepherds who are more concerned with their own needs, with their own wants and desires, with their own habits, and neglect to tend the sheep. Ezekiel warns against the false shepherds who use the sheep for what they can produce for the shepherd, their meat and their milk and their wool. And at the end of Ezekiel chapter 34, God speaks. God says, I will seek out the lost, bring back the strays, bind up the wounded, and strengthen the weak. They will know that I, the Lord their God, am with them, and they are my people. This is what the Lord God says. You are human, and I am God. Amen.